Hi everyone, welcome back to Lit Achieve Academy. Today we'll deal with the short story The Remains of the Feast by Gita Hariharan. So who is Gita Hariharan? Gita Hariharan is an Indian writer and editor based in New Delhi. Her first novel The Thousand Faces of Night won the Commonwealth Writers Prize for the best first novel 1993. Her other works include the short story collection The Art of Dying 1993, the novels The Ghost of Vasu Master 1994, When Dreams Travel 1999, In Times of Siege 2003, Fugitive Histories 2009, and I Become the Tide 2019, and a collection of essays entitled Almost Home, Cities and Other Places 2014. Right, so let's move on to the short story The Remains of the Feast. Okay, so today I want to share with you this powerful short story because it deals with life, death and unexpected cravings that happen in the human soul. So this story, it's rich with themes of memory, tradition, and follows the journey of a 90-year-old Brahmin woman called Rukmini. So the main character name is Rukmini. She's a Brahmin widow and a great granddaughter, Ratna. So it's her great granddaughter. So these are the other characters that come in the story: Ratna's mother, Ratna's father, and the doctor. So let's deal with the story now. So Rukmini, at the age of 90, wasn't your typical old Brahmin widow. In fact, she didn't behave quite like anyone would expect her to be in that particular age group. Okay. So at the beginning of the story, it begins in a room that smells of fur, not as she did when she was dying, an overripe smell that clung to everything she touched, but as a faded rose, dry and elusive. So there was some smell associated with old age, so that was present in that room. It was a smell that lingered in the air like a memory, a trace of something once alive. So Rukmini had lived in her old ancestral house, sharing a room with her great granddaughter Ratna for most of Ratna's 20 years. So her age, Ratna's age, should be around 20 years. Okay. And Rukmini had outlived her son and daughter-in-law. So maybe she would have had sons and daughter-in-laws and few other people. But she outlived them. These two, son and daughter-in-law, they passed away before her. Okay, because she's now 90 years old. She found something oddly amusing about outliving them. So she's a village bred woman. She had outlasted the city bred, ambitious people who had collapsed from the first signs of old age. So Rukmini had a peculiar sense of humor, one that often embarrassed Ratna. She would sit in her corner, giggling like a little girl for no reason at all. And someone would ask her why she was laughing. She would burst into uncontrollable peals of laughter, eventually revealing her secret. She would fart exactly like a train whistling its way out of the station. Despite her cheerfulness, Rukmini was undeniably old. So when she suddenly took to lying in bed all day a few weeks before her 90th birthday, no one was too surprised. She ignored concern, advice, and even scolding. And then after 2 months, she agreed to see a doctor. So the doctor comes to visit her, and he was puzzled when he saw her. He spoke to Ratna's father, suggesting that Rukmini needed all kinds of tests. He pointed to the lump on her neck, which had been there for years. Ratna's father, who is a nervous man, explained that the lump had been examined long ago, but back then no one dared perform an operation. So the relatives had all come with horror stories about unnatural death. And besides her husband, Ratna's grandfather had been just a boy at the time. So the doctor, shaking his head, suggested they admit Rukmini to a nursing home. But Ratna's mother, the practical one, says, let's not tell her anything, why worry her, it's her last period of life, right? So but that night, Rukmini wasn't fooled. She called Ratna to her beside, holding her hand and kissing each finger. And with a sly look, she asks, tell me something, Ratna. Do these small cakes you bought from Christian shop have eggs in them? Will you get one for me? And so began a strange partnership between Ratna and Rukmini. So, Ratna secretly smuggled cakes, ice cream, biscuits, and samosas into Rukmini's room, food made by non Brahmin hands, something Rukmini had never eaten in her 90 years. For a week, this secret was safe, but Rukmini became more and more adventurous every day. One day, she demanded a glass of Coca Cola, something Ratna's mother thought would make her sick. But Rukmini insisted, and when she drank it, she sighed in satisfaction, burping loudly. Do you think there's alcohol in it? She asked, her voice mischievous. So, as the days went by, Rukmini's craving became more varied, unpredictable, and Rukmini tasted lemon tarts, garlic, aerated rings, fruit cakes laced with brandy, and even pale buri from a fly infested bazaar. So, nothing was off limits anymore for Rukmini. And but as with all these things, there came a time when Rukmini's body could no longer keep up with her spirit. So, after 10 days in the nursing home, Rukmini died. So, this great grandmother died. Okay, she had been searching for something in her final moments, her eyes darting around the room, her hands twitching, and then in a whisper, she called out for Ratna. Ratna and her mother rushed to her side, but Rukmini's strength was fading. In one final act, she pulled her arms free from the tube. She removes all the tubes and, with a voice filled with longing, she demands, "Bring me a red sari, a red one with a big wide border of gold, and peanuts with chili powder from the corner shop, onion and green chili bondas, deep fried in oil." But these were her last words, okay, before her death. So, but when Rukmini passed away, Ratna wasn't ready to let go. So, this granddaughter was always close with Rukmini. She found it very hard to move, to let her go, to let her memories fade away. So, she ran to a cupboard, pulled out the brightest red sari she could find, her first silk sari from the last year's Diwali. She draped it lovingly over Rukmini's body, the red silk glittering like her great grandmother's laughter. Her mother, horrified, whispered, "Have you gone mad?" She was a sick old woman. She didn't know what she was saying. Okay, so but Ratna didn't care. She had to honor Rukmini's final wish, even if it went against the tradition. So, as I told you earlier, Rukmini was a widow, right? But then she has asked for a red sari. And Ratna also drapes a red sari for the dead grandmother. So, in the end, Rukmini was cremated. Okay, she was cremated in a pale brown sari. The widow's weeds, the prayer beads which she had never touched, were placed around her neck. It was almost ironic, almost obscene gesture. And now we see that Ratna is left behind, haunted by the smell of stale confections, of fried chilies and onions. She searches for her great grandmother in the dirtiest bakeries and tea stalls, tasting the foods Rukmini had craved in her final days. She even gives herself diarrhea for a week, as if trying to live out Rukmini's revenge. So, but in the end, all Ratna has left is a smell. Okay, so Ratna has nothing of her grandmother left, only a smell, a faint lingering memory of the woman who defied age, tradition, and even death. Alright, so the remains of the feast is a short story that reminds us how life, in all its complexities, is often a blend of the unexpected and the familiar. So, Rukmini's final acts of rebellion, like wanting to eat everything, like she was a very strict person, okay, but then at her last stage, she wanted to try everything. It was a testament to her strength, her humor, and a refusal to be bound by the expectations of others. So, let's move on to the themes. The story touches on several key themes that resonate deeply with human experience. The first one is rebellion against tradition. So, Rukmini's life, as we saw, has been shaped by strict traditions, especially as a Brahmin widow. She had lived a life of restraint, adhering to customs rules that defined her identity. But in her final days, she lets go of all these conventions. Her craving for forbidden foods like Coca-Cola and Bale Buri were acts of rebellion. So, they symbolize a refusal to be bound by the expectations of others, even in death. And the next one is complexity of memory and identity. So the story also explores how memory is tied to identity. So Rukmini's life had been defined by the traditions she followed, but in the final moment she sought something more, something that was hers alone. The act of tasting forbidden foods and asking for a red sari was a way for her to reclaim her individuality, to assert her presence in a world that had long defined her by her role as a widow. Right, and finally we have something called memory. So Ratna searched for Rukmini in bakeries and tea stalls after her death. So it's a reminder of how memories persist long after a person is gone. So Ratna searched for the foods her great grandmother craved as a way for her to hold on to the memory of the woman who had defied all expectations. So the lingering smell of stale confections, fried chilies becomes a symbol of memories that refuse to fade. So it's a beautiful tale about memory, rebellion, the things we leave behind. And for Ratna, it's a story of love, loss, and the strange way in which we remember those who have passed. So thank you for watching, and I hope this story resonated with you as much as it did with me. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more literary explorations. Until next time, keep reading, keep reflecting, and keep finding the stories that matter to you. Thank you.